Welcome to the Starfighter Podcast.
All right, welcome back to the Starfighter Podcast. It's Friday, hanging out with some awesome friends. Of course, Dom and Jake, your co-hosts of the show, and we've got Ethan back, my nephew. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Pretty good.
All right, we ready to, give our reactions and review to WandaVision?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, we're going to talk about the finale. We got a lot to say, especially one of us. It might be myself. But before that, if you're not already, please subscribe here to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere. Check it out. Leave us a review and leave us a like. Join the conversation. I'm really curious to hear, from our audience about how they like this series finale. So, all right, let's get into it, guys. Thought maybe we could start with our initial reactions. I don't know, maybe we should just get mine out of the way.
Yeah.
Do it.
All right. Might get on a little bit of a soapbox here. So bear with me, guys. I try to keep a level head. I try to keep positive about this stuff. Last night, Disney and Marvel made it very hard for me to stay positive. I'll say that. I'm going to paint a little picture for you guys here. This is how I felt. Imagine you're a kid who's been sick. You haven't eaten in a really long time. You finally get your appetite back, and your mom is teasing you that she's going to make your favorite meal for dinner. You follow me? You get to the table. Not only is your favorite dinner, your favorite meal not there, not only is there just a plain bowl of Cheerios on the table, but there's not even real milk, guys. It's not even real milk. It's just so plain. It's like watered down Cheerios. Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I can tell you guys both enjoyed that. It's watered down Cheerios. Here we go. Let's get the obvious out of the way. We didn't get the X-Men cameos, and I'm still repping the X-Men shirt today. We're sad about that. Okay, we'll get that out of the way. We didn't get Magneto. I mean, bless us for trying, right? Bless us for hoping.
Yeah.
Okay, so no X-Men cameos, right? No Doctor Strange. Where was Doctor Strange? Couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
No real satisfying reveals. The post-credit scenes, I don't feel like they really count. I don't feel like the Skrulls are that cool, even though they should be. I don't like the whole Wanda hiding in the cabin thing after she caused all this havoc. Villains, I felt fell flat, both Agnes and Hayward. Just like their storylines, I just felt like they kind of went nowhere. And especially for Agnes Agatha, it's like I was never invested because I never felt like she was a real threat. Like, did any of us ever feel like, wow, she could really take out Wanda for good or something like that? You know what I mean? Or she could really cause some big damage, because I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Pietro being Ralph with an inappropriate last name. I mean, give me a break. All that, like, don't even bring on Evan Peters. Don't even bring him in. Just don't do it, Disney.
Yeah.
Monica was barely in it. And then at the end, she's just standing around, and that felt awkward. Like, do something with her. She was really cool. She was starting to get really cool in a couple of the episodes. Missed opportunity. Why was Jimmy Woo even in this episode? Like, can either of you tell me why he was in the episode? Like,
he called the FBI
I'll
but
tell you
then they took too long to get there.
Yeah. they're only there to arrest the guy afterward. That's
make
the
it-
only reason.
he was there to make like the third phone call to like the fifth person that doesn't show up at the end of our show again. Come on. I'm almost done. Darcy has 2 seconds in the show just running her clown car into Hayward, which, okay, like, that was dumb. Okay, last thing, then I'll throw it to you guys because I'm anxious to hear your guys' thoughts as well. I think we can agree that the climax of the episode was Wanda making this sacrifice, willing to make this sacrifice, giving up her kids, giving up Vision, giving up the happy life that she wanted. And, they're raising the stakes there. I'm all on board for that. I think that's the direction that they need to go. But then follow through. It's like, okay, yeah, the hex is coming down. She's getting rid of the kids. She's not going to see Vision anymore. Oh, wait. They're winking at you saying Vision's going to come back later in some capacity. Then the post-credit scene, guess what? The kids can come back too. There's no payoff to these stakes and this sacrifice that she's making. And then at the end of the episode, she sees Monica, and Monica's like, the town people will never know the sacrifice that you made. What sacrifice? She can get Vision back later on, and she can get her kids back. Might as well just stay in the hex. And then the last thing is Monica was like, oh yeah, and I would do the same thing, essentially, to bring back my mom. Why would a hero say that? Like, why would they say, like, yeah, I would torture a group of people to bring to bring back my mom too? Like, when a hero is supposed to understand sacrifice and understand responsibility. Shout out to Spider-Man.
Oh my gosh.
Why would she say something like that? Okay, that's it. That's all I got. It was there. Okay, I'll get to later on. I'll get to the things that I liked, of course, because there was some cool stuff too. But that's all the stuff that really bummed me out. And overall, because Jake reminded me that we need to take the whole series as a whole. Enjoyed the series. I just wanted so much more from this last episode, but maybe in the next movies I'll enjoy those better. All right, sorry for going on a little long, guys. Either one of you want to give us your take?
Go, Jake.
All right. Yeah. So overall, really good show. I thought it was very interesting. They set the premise that it was a mystery show, but then there was no mystery or climax that was interesting involved. Like, we literally knew Agnes was Agatha Harkness before the show started, right? It was obvious to anybody who does the slightest amount of research. So what I got from this show was, yes, it's great that Disney and Marvel are putting out a lot of content on Disney Plus, but it's not going to reach, or at least this series, it's not going to reach the proportions that the movies do, in the way that you basically have to watch every movie to understand what's going on. If you skip this entire series, are you going to be lost in the next movies? Probably not. You're probably going to be good. So I feel like that's the direction they went, where they didn't want to do anything crazy or have any new crazy characters, new reveals, or anything big happened. Like, nothing really happened at the end. Everything went back to the way it was, and Wanda got a new book. Cool. That's basically the entire premise of the show, and Monica got some powers, and we'll see, I guess, eventually if she ever becomes a known superhero. But that'll probably be plenty explained in Captain Marvel 2. They'll rehash the entire thing that happened. So it just fell flat in the way that it didn't have the huge ending, the huge reveals that the movies do. But I think as a standalone show, it was very good. It just, I think we took it to be way more of a hype than it was really going to be. And they only introduced, right, Agatha Harkness, like a sort of minor villain. I feel like that's kind of going to be the case. Like they're not going to use Mephisto on a 9-episode TV series that not that many people are going to see, right? They got to save the big for the movies, which probably is where they make all their money. That's sort of what I was getting. So overall, very good. I think what we really got out of this was really interesting story, really unique, a very good concept, and also, you know, more time with beloved characters, which is always great. But also, we got to see some a show that is really well done in the way that a lot of shows aren't nowadays, besides like The Mandalorian, also on Disney Plus, where it still has the feel and quality of a premiere blockbuster movie. It just doesn't maybe have the story or the characters or the reveals or the cameos that can back it up with that. But we did see incredible acting by both of the leads, and even Catherine Hahn too as Agnes was great. She obviously isn't going to be the craziest villain ever. I liked her better in her comic relief role before she actually turned bad.
Me too.
And then yeah, the ending. I mean, I wasn't going to be too hyped for the fighting. I mentioned that in the last episode. I don't need much fighting. I wanted more story and explanations, which they kind of gave some explanations, but a lot of them were really lame. Like, I mean, 6 weeks ago or whatever, we were like, oh, who is Dottie? Who could she be? A nobody. That's what she is. Oh, Quicksilver's back. No, he's a nobody. All these people are nobodies. It doesn't matter. And so that was the disappointing part where, yeah, I thought it was going to be a show where you could rewatch it and then pick out little hints here and there that was setting up this crazy reveal at the end. But really, you knew everything all along, and it probably loses some replay value, but overall, a good show. I guess that's my thoughts.
Nice. Yeah, Ethan.
So yeah, I've been trying to look at it as obviously a whole series. I think going into this episode, I knew there was going to be issues with the pacing of it, just because last episode we didn't learn that much. Let's be honest, we learned the Scarlet Witch part, but I don't think it was necessary for the whole episode to be flashbacks. I think they really needed that last episode to be just to help build up to all this, and you could round up stuff like, you know, fake Pietro and Monica and all these, you know, loose ends and spectral vision, you know. But this episode I did really enjoy for the fact that I don't think Agnes is the craziest villain, obviously. But I do think that when you think about where the MCU is going forward, that, you know, Multiverse of Madness is going to be a huge movie as to where this goes. I think having those characters that are, you know, that use magic and all that, I think having a better understanding of that is useful. And I think Agnes did a really good job at explaining it just through her like banter with Wanda. I think she gave a better understanding as to how powers work. I think the coolest part of this episode was she gave a straight up power ranking in the MCU, and she was just like, yeah, you're stronger than, you know, Doctor Strange. Like, so yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I think the pacing, it just didn't feel right to me. Just for the fact that by the time you get to the end of the episode, you realize that why it felt so rushed. Like it worked well watching it, but then you're like, but there's so many loose ends. Like I'm still a little sad that Spectral Vision wasn't talked about a bit more. He kind of just dipped. And I think I definitely think there's a lot of stuff that is going to be explained probably in Doctor Strange, but I'm really glad that we got this series because Wanda had nothing. She didn't have a movie. And I think this kind of built up her character and just like how much pain she was going through. And so I think it's a really big arc. I do agree that she made sacrifices, but either way, that still, you know, builds on the character, I think, and it'll have an effect going forward. Um, I did like the post credit scenes. I'm excited for Secret Invasion. I think that's the main thing that it was leading up for, if not, Captain Marvel 2. And the last post credit scene, like I think it leaves that idea in my mind that she could be like somewhat bad in Doctor Strange, just because when you're messing with the Darkhold, it's probably not going to go right. Um, but I also do think that I don't think Hex Vision is going to come back. Like, I don't think that's ever coming back, is the one thing I'm glad about. I do think that Hex Vision was talking about when he was saying, we'll say hi again. He knew. Wanda didn't know. He knew that he fixed the other vision, like that he's going to be around. And he has all those memories. As to why he didn't go fight afterwards, God knows. But yeah, so I'm excited. I love this episode. I would give it like an 8 out of 10. Just because I think everything was good, but there's just a lot of storylines I want wrapped up, and there wasn't like huge cameos like I thought there would be. Like, I definitely thought I'd be seeing Doctor Strange in some extent, like at least in the post credit scene. But yeah, I'm glad we got this show at the end of the day. So I enjoyed it.
Nice. Yeah, you both made some really good points too. I was gonna say, like, when it came to the pacing, like Ethan was talking about a little bit, overall, yeah, it kind of felt a little bit weird, but like there were definitely some times where I thought it felt good and it felt right. Like in the beginning, it just like right out of the gate pretty fast, and I was invested. And then like it starts to slow down, and we talked about like the climax of the show, and her sacrificing, giving up this life. I felt like there's just like these pretty cool moments, but then it's like they just didn't deliver at the very end. Like it was just like so close, what I mean? Just like so close to landing, but not quite. Because
Yeah.
then the sacrifice part just, I don't know, didn't sit well in the end. But totally agree with what Ethan was saying about, and of course the train's coming. But totally agree with what he said about, now we appreciate Wanda so much more because of this show. And yeah, I'm still really glad that we got it. But Jake, any more thoughts?
No, I think that's about it for me. But yeah, good show overall. I think that's going to be, the kind of the pacing for the next few series. I hate when you're watching a finale and it's like, okay, get this over with. Let's get to the good part. And that's kind of how I felt like this entire thing was. And yeah, the ending did kind of leave you wanting more. It's like, okay, we had the battle, we had the goodbye. Now what? And now what is basically she just walks away, and then that was kind of the ending before the few second post credit scenes, and that was about it. But yeah, we still have questions which may or may not be answered, so I guess that's still up in the air. But it did leave you wanting a little bit more at the end.
And one thing, if you don't mind me adding, is
Oh yeah,
I'm waiting for Winter Soldier, or Falcon Winter Soldier, because when I see that, I feel like it's going to give us a better idea as to why WandaVision is the way it is, if it's the same format, because we haven't seen these shows before yet. Their format could very well be, hey, let's just leave a bunch of loose ends and stuff and just create new storylines, and then we'll just bring in a blockbuster movie and wrap it up. But I wouldn't enjoy that as much. I still want fan service and all that in the shows, obviously, but it's something very plausible that I think could be happening, and I've thought about it quite a bit.
yeah, I hear that for sure. One other thing I was going to add to what Jake was saying a little bit, that I forgot to mention, is like when I could tell we were getting close to the end of the show, Wanda saying goodbye to Vision. I came to terms with like, okay, I'm not going to see Magneto. I'm not going to see the X-Men. There's going to be no mention of mutants, most likely. I'm coming to terms with it. Fine. But like another prediction that almost came true is that I was talking to Jake about in our last episode is that Wanda needs to say goodbye to Vision again, but this time she needs to have that closure and to let go and, to move on in a positive way. And it's like we were just so close to getting that. You know what I mean? Like that, I thought the scene was going like so good. I'm starting to repeat myself now, but um, yeah, it's like, and like I think Vision is an awesome character, but if it's going to be a sacrifice, then don't bring him back. Later on.
Yeah.
'Cause I just felt like that would have landed so much better on just like definitely hit a little bit harder for sure for like the larger audience. But we can go ahead and like break down some more stuff, get a little bit more in depth from like the beginning. Oh, real quick, if you wanted to give a rating like Ethan did, I'd probably go 5 out of 10. But Jake, what about you?
It's a solid 7.5
Okay,
for the
okay.
episode.
For episode,
At least
yeah.
an 8 for the show.
Yeah, I'd go 8 for the show too. You, Ethan?
For the show, yeah, I'd probably go 8. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll break it down a little bit, starting from the beginning. I think we've said quite a bit already, but we'll break it down just a little bit more. Is there anything that you want to talk about with like this intro scene that we get? Again, just right out of the gate, with some action and this battle between Wanda and Agatha. And we'll start with Ethan. Anything you want to add about this?
Not really. Obviously, we got right back to where we ended off last episode. And nothing really crazy. I think the one funny thing is I think there's a lot of callbacks to other movies in this episode. For instance, with the car, she obviously did that to Tony in Civil War, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, good point. Jake?
Yeah. This was nice to get one of the questions out of the way that we were kind of talking about last week, which is what is really Agatha's goal? And so we did learn that she wanted the Scarlet Witch powers, which apparently is transferable. So that's interesting. And so at least we got that out of the way. Like, what is she even doing? So I guess she was drawn to that power and could sense it. And it's sort of similar to what she did with her coven and her mother, I guess, kind of absorbed their power and life through them. But this actually would give her Scarlet Witch powers, which is a lot different than anybody else. But at least we learned that. And then I thought it was pretty great scene actually when White Vision showed up and kind of grabbed her head like that. It was pretty freaky. I liked it.
Yeah, that was a good scene. And then I for sure I thought, okay, Vision's gonna come in here and swoop in, and he does. So that was cool. Yeah, that definitely left an impression that was starting to make things more intense. And yeah, so I mean, once Vision comes in, then the two of them start to fight. Did you guys want to talk about that battle between the two Visions?
I thought it was pretty good. I thought overall this show has had very good CGI, which I was very happy about. You assume lower budget for the TV shows, but I thought it lived up to Age of Ultron and stuff like that. I mean, if we're skipping ahead towards the end more with them just kind of talking things out, that was pretty interesting. And really, I thought it was a good way to end these things. I either thought, like Vision was going to take over the other Vision and become a full Vision again. Yeah, which didn't happen, which, I mean, it didn't, but it also did with him, like we talked about, giving him his memories back, which leads you to so many questions, of course. But it was a good fight between them, basically. And then, like I was saying last week, I didn't need a whole bunch of fighting because it's not really what this show is about. And I thought they did a good way of pacing it with more dialogue and not just constantly trying to, play a beat 'em up, basically. And then, yes, we didn't have much time for like the other characters, like Ralph and Monica. I mean, I didn't really need to see them fight either. That's what I was kind of worried about with spending all this time with just 3 different fights going on. But they did a good job of pacing that, at least that you got some cool action in there, but it wasn't really the story of the episode.
Yeah, for sure. And so you guys know, I think we've said quite a bit. So I'm kind of just like skimming through our notes and moving a little bit ahead if there's anything else that we want to touch on. But Ethan, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I think one thing I really liked about this fight was, again, another callback to when Thanos, Spectral Vision just went for the Mind Stone and just phased right through it, which I thought that was pretty cool. But I think also, the library scene where they're talking it out, it's a very Vision way to resolve that conflict, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
Like, it really fit with the character. And so yeah, I thought it was a really good scene, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I like that scene in the library too. I feel like Paul Bettany really steals the show sometimes in those bigger scenes that he has. I think he does a really fantastic job. Let's talk about. You guys want to touch on the short time that we saw Jimmy Woo and his conversation with Hayward. Any thoughts there? I didn't think so.
I think we all like Jimmy Woo a lot.
Yeah.
No, I love him.
He's good. He didn't have much of a
it's not
purpose.
It's not them. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't have much of a purpose in this episode. Barely in the show a little bit. They did kind of in their escape with him and Darcy and everything. He did some cool moves and stuff. Yeah, like we were saying earlier, his whole purpose was to call the FBI, and they basically showed up just to get Hayward, even though Darcy had already taken him out. And that was basically his whole plot of this. And then he kind of organized a relief effort for the town of Westview. So he didn't do much, that's for sure, which is fine. But it's good to just see him around every once in a while.
Yeah.
No, like, I was just gonna say real quick, I like
sure.
all the characters and stuff. It's like some of the storytelling and writing, I just felt like they could have capitalized better on where they took the characters, the different directions, and developing them more, and building upon their story more, or even less, depending on who it was, but just give them a good ending. You know what I mean? Because the scenes with Jimmy, like, I feel like either don't put him in if it's kind of pointless, or change directions and give him more of a purpose, and give Monica more of a purpose, because a lot of those scenes with Jimmy and Monica, unfortunately, I want to see scenes with them, but I want them to add more into everything that's going on, and I felt like there's some throwaway stuff there, but yeah, totally enjoy his character. I think we're going to see more from him. Ethan?
Yeah, I think when it comes down to talking about Agent Wu and Hayward, we all love Wu. I think he was always awesome ever since Ant-Man. But I've been trying to remind myself, and I kept getting mad at like the Hayward character, because I was like, I kept thinking, and I think a lot of people kept thinking that he was going to be something more. Like by the end, he was going to be like a Skrull or something, and he was going to be like some evil guy for like Secret Invasion or something like that. But I kept remembering, I'm like, you need, human level. You need multiple villains that aren't as threatening, or they just add another level. One reminder was like Hammer from Iron Man 2. Like, you just need more villains like that are they serve a purpose, but they're not like some all powerful, part of some greater plan. And so I've been trying to remember that with the character. So I didn't like him that much, but I definitely think he served his purpose of adding another layer of depth to their invasion on the Hex, and all that. So yeah.
I can see that. I can see that too. I think that's a great point for sure. Having some lower level villains too. It's just I I was really liking the character of Hayward in the beginning, and again, repeating myself a little bit, I didn't like where it ended towards the end because I just felt like we could get so much more out of these characters from these characters. Um, I was telling Jake how I thought it would be great, if you didn't actually turn to a villain or some kind of villain, because I thought he would be really great as like um, kind of like the next Nick Fury type of character. Because he's the head of Sword, or was the head of Sword. Curious to know how that all plays out with Sword, like if they're gonna still stay good, or is the whole operation going down. But yeah, and maybe we still will see more of Hayward later on, hopefully. But yeah, I just wanted more. Any thoughts, Jake?
No, that's pretty much what I was thinking too. I mean, yeah, it was basically just like an aggressive jerk guy, and that was basically his whole plot. Um, I did hope that he would become a little bit more. I don't know if we'll see him again because, I mean, like, what would be the point in that? It's not like he's coming back and getting revenge. It's like he doesn't have too much of a point. It's like, yeah, you try to shoot some kids, dude. You're going to jail. That's basically it. I would like to see, I think Sword will continue just kind of how it's been set up, such as in Far From Home post credit scene. But who will be the new director of that? I think I kind of assumed that Nick Fury was the director of Sword in the Spider-Man post-credit scene, but maybe there's separate divisions for one on Earth and one on space. Who's going to take over the one on Earth? I guess could it be Monica? I guess that's possible, but yeah, I don't know exactly when we'll see him again. Maybe they'll factor into Eternals some way because it's kind of in that realm, but yeah, I don't know if we'll see much of him again, but I don't necessarily need to.
You guys want to talk a little bit about when Agnes takes down the Hex, and the town people start to kind of go after Wanda. This was an interesting scene for sure, and I think something that they've done really well in the story is when they have these interactions with the town members, because again, you really get to see both sides, not just Wanda's grief, but then you start to sympathize with the town members, because you're starting to understand more of what they're going through, and the torture, and really just going through all this turmoil. But talk to me about this scene, Jake.
Yeah, we did learn this basically a few episodes back when Vision removed that from Norm. It's kind of a superhero or sci-fi trope where you can't have everything you want. It reminds me of like any time travel movie where there's always repercussions for doing something, which kind of ties into the ending too, which I'm sure we'll get in later a little bit more about the Darkhold. But is Wanda looking for a way to basically bring everybody back without the repercussions? Bring them back into reality, and when they didn't have to just be in the Hex is kind of what I'm thinking for that. But yeah, it did set in stone basically that this has got to end. She's got to let go and make that sacrifice, like you were saying. Yes, okay, it is a sacrifice in some way or another, when really these people shouldn't exist in the first place. But I guess it still counts as sacrifice to give these people their life back, which they deserve. And again, where are these kids? Apparently they're in their houses, but Dottie doesn't know where her kid is. I guess all the kids are in one communal house. I don't know, but yeah. But that was disappointing again to see that Dottie's a nobody. Why did they leave her profile off the wall in the little sword base outside of the Hex? It's just like little things like that. You thought they would be something, and they're absolutely nothing. Like, people were wondering about Agnes's stupid rabbit forever, and like
Yeah.
it's nothing. I mean, it's absolutely nothing. That's a little disappointing. Yeah,
What was
I
the
think
stork? What was the stork?
nothing. That's the whole problem with this. Is I think we just went way too overboard with the everything means something when it really didn't. I mean, this isn't. It ended up not being that kind of show when we thought it was that kind of show, and all these people are just normal people. But then again, you get sort of the humanity factor. That's you can relate to these people, and they just want their lives back, basically. So there was some good and some bad part of that scene.
And I think to be fair, like what you're saying is like we kind of dug too deep sometimes, but rightfully so. They planted all the things for us, to go after. That they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, do you remember when Paul Bettany was saying that there was an actor that he was that he was so happy to be working with, and it turned out it was like just himself. Like he just baited the entire community.
Yeah, I didn't
thought
know
that
he
was
could be a
hilarious.
jerk. I didn't know he could be a jerk.
I thought
Yeah,
that was
I mean,
hilarious.
they all did that. Elizabeth Olsen said it would be a Luke Skywalker level cameo. Teyona Paris said that her astrophysicist friend is going to be a huge reveal. They're just like all on board with like, oh, let's just screw these people because why not?
Yeah.
It's funny. And then, I mean, even
Yeah.
I forget who's directing this show, but for choosing Evan Peters, just another way to screw with people.
Yeah.
What's the point? Yeah, I love Evan Peters, but I don't want him to be brought in just to throw him away because I think we all want I mean, yes, there's some good and some bad casting in the Fox X-Men, but I think for the most part, we wanted them to transfer over, and now it's looking like we're not getting that. So
Yeah, when we get there, I got a lot of takes on that one right there. For sure. But yeah.
I mean, the door was wide open, guys. It was wide open.
It's been open.
Anything else noteworthy? You guys want to talk about the final battle with Wanda and Agatha?
Sure, let's do it.
Any thoughts, Ethan? How'd you like this scene?
Let's just talk about CGI for a sec. It's insane, like how good it is. I think it's up there with Endgame, honestly. Like just how good the CGI was. There's a lot of good stuff. I thought the fighting was interesting. I think it's funny how they do the camera work, and they're like, okay, Wanda's missing like every other shot, and like you kind of just knew something was up. But the one thing I thought was funny is that it doesn't really go with the character of the Scarlet Witch, right? Because right before that, Agnes was having a conversation like, you don't need incantations for, your powers. Like, you don't need to be casting like spells. Like, that's not how the Scarlet Witch works. Like, she just does stuff. Which I think was kind of funny that she was just like she actually went and made those runes and cast them. Which I don't know if I should be thinking of that as like she is just effortlessly making them by shooting it at a wall, or if I should be like, oh wow, that's she broke the Scarlet Witch thing and it was like actually cast something. So I don't really know how to feel about that, but I thought it was really cool. They called to it like at the very beginning of the episode. I watched it twice now, and like during all the credit scenes, they're like talking.
Good
about
on you for watching it twice.
Yeah, so when they're talking about like at the beginning, they're showing the runes. I'm like, why do I need to know about the runes right now? And then at the very end, they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, I thought it was really cool. I thought it looked really great. Scarlet Witch outfit looks insane. I think we were all waiting for that, but still no spectral vision in this fight. he just dipped. But yeah, I thought it was chill.
Yeah, I do think that's like, man, that's one of the coolest suits in the MCU right now. I think that was insanely awesome. Yeah, much better than her previous one. But I think when she realized her potential, basically, yes, she was creating the runes. Okay, I just would like to see more of her power, like not just shooting energy blasts, right? I mean, she can warp reality. She can do anything almost, like literally anything she wants. And so I don't think it should have been like, obviously they did it in a way that it wasn't actually close battle, that she had a purpose and everything like that, which makes sense. But yeah, just doing something that we haven't seen before. We definitely saw, of course, during this show that she has a lot more power than she had in any of the previous shows that she was in. But yeah, just doing something a little different. But I did really enjoy her using the old trick that she used on Tony, where she got inside Agatha's mind. That was awesome. Just kind of a callback there. But overall, yeah, I thought CGI was great. I thought the suit's amazing. And yeah, I think it was a decent way to end it. But again, yeah, she's just like, nah, Vision, I got this. Like, it wasn't even a question of whether or not she had it. So yeah, she's definitely in control of her powers now.
Oh yeah, one more thing, if you don't mind, that I completely forgot about that part where she went to Agnes's head, or Agatha. God, they're way too similar. It completely reminded me of X-Men Apocalypse, like the fight that Apocalypse and Professor X had, where Professor X is just going in on Apocalypse like in the mind game, and then all of a sudden they just flipped it. I got like immediate callbacks to that, and I thought that was pretty cool. It's like the only X-Men-esque thing that I felt, but they've already done that with, Tony, so it wasn't that crazy. But it's something that it reminded me of.
Well, I don't know if you watched one of our earlier episodes, but there was that scene, and I don't know when the last time, Ethan, you saw X-Men 1, but what episode was it? It might have been like episode 4 or something, Jake, where Wanda turns the weapons on the soldiers. Magneto has a scene where he does something like pretty almost identical to that in X-Men 1 to a bunch of police officers. So darn you, Disney. Was wide open. Do you guys want to touch on the post-credit scenes?
Why not?
Or any more?
Why not? Heck yeah.
Take us through post-credit scene number 1, Jake.
So Jimmy Woo's hanging out, just happy-go-lucky Jimmy. And then, yeah, Monica's still just hanging out too, because like, I guess they didn't have anything else to do. So yeah,
that's the problem.
She meets with some random agent, which I couldn't really tell whether she knew that agent or knew that she was a Skrull or anything like that. It was a little hard to tell. She definitely wasn't surprised when she knew it, or it was revealed that it was a Skrull. But then basically Skrull says somebody wants to meet with you. Okay, so who are we thinking that is? Are we thinking that's Talos or Nick Fury? That's basically what I got. It's either one of those two. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. One of them.
I feel like it's Nick Fury, because at this point, this happened before Homecoming, or not Homecoming,
Far From
Home. And I'm guessing Talos is on Earth right now, in his place as Nick Fury. So I'm gonna take a guess that it's Nick Fury, because we know at this time he's still up there, in some capacity, or at least he most likely is. So I would bet on Nick Fury.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And I guess it's a possibility. There's no reason why it could or could not be, but I guess that could have been Talos' daughter speaking to her. They did kind of know each other at one point, so I guess that's a possibility. But I guess that's just basically telling us Monica will return in Secret Invasions. I guess that's basically the whole point of that post-credit scene, is what I got.
Yeah,
I agree. Ethan, do you want to talk to us about post-credit scene number 2?
Yeah, for sure. So we kind of pan in, and it's like a mountainous region and real beautiful place, of course. Perfect for some crazy stuff to be going on.
Perfect for a criminal.
Yeah, exactly. We see this cabin. The cabin looked a lot to me like that one to for a second I thought for some reason I thought it was the same one in Endgame, like that Tony died at. But then I realized like there's no water there, so I was like, oh, okay, no. But we go in and we see Wanda kind of like drinking some tea or coffee, and but then after we kind of go back into the back room and she's there with the Darkhold, kind of just like looking through it. And then you at one point you hear Billy, and he's kind of like crying out for help. And then Wanda like snaps and is like, okay, what's going on? And I was trying to think in my mind as to how I think I heard about it. I was looking into it earlier today, as to how Wanda was in that one room, but also doing her own thing in the other room at the same time.
The astral plane, right?
Yeah, astral projection or something like that. And we've seen Doctor Strange do it before, as far as I know. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. The Darkhold's there, so nothing's gonna be going well. And I'm sure that I think that's the only thing really in this show that's gonna be like right into Multiverse of Madness. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know if you guys saw anything that I missed, but
No, just her playing with her pop-up book, and that was it.
All right, I have some thoughts. They're probably, again, I'm digging too deep like we were this entire show. But
yeah, save your energy, Jake.
I mean, might as well say it. I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, then I'll look like a genius. But throughout this entire show, there's definitely been a split between Wanda's personalities. For instance, she didn't know what had happened to the entire town for like half of the show. She didn't even realize that she had done it. And we did see multiple splits of her personality when her Sokovian accent came out, like when she left the Hex the first time and then talking to Pietro. So she definitely has some issues, which I feel like it wants you to think they got all worked out, but not necessarily, because she definitely grabbed that book. So is this really Wanda just using her powers and studying, or is this again kind of getting back to her split personality? Because we do have Wanda, but then it could very well be that the Scarlet Witch is an alternate personality. Hence why she's dressed up in the astral plane. It doesn't really make sense, because whenever Doctor Strange visited the astral plane, he was wearing the same clothes. He kind of just left his body. Also, another thing with the astral plane, no person can see the projection if they're not in the plane. So Wanda could possibly not even know that that's happening if her other personality is doing that. She couldn't even see her. So if that's the case, it could kind of be where she's the hero and the villain of Doctor Strange. I guess that's a possibility. And then also you kind of have to wonder where she learned these powers, such as astral projection and everything like that. I don't know. Again, she kind of just can do things like we were talking about earlier without actually having to know any spells or anything like that. But it's kind of interesting. But I guess we can get into Darkhold a little bit more. I am tired of the Darkhold. I don't know if you guys are avid watchers of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or Runaways / Cloak and Dagger. This is like the third or fourth time I've seen the Darkhold. And yeah, those things aren't really canon anymore, but you still use the stories, right? And so I kind of didn't need it, because the Darkhold kind of like it kind of changes logic every time somebody else uses it. Like they never did a very good job of explaining what it was, and they certainly didn't in this show. They're just like, oh, it's the Book of the Damned. It has a chapter on you, see? Okay, like they didn't explain it at all for a show that tried to be really inclusive. I feel like they didn't go out of the box too much for people who didn't understand or see every single movie or anything like that, or did any comic book research. They just threw this book in there, and we don't know anything about it. I would have to assume this is a huge part of Doctor Strange 2. because I mean, what else is this? We're not getting a second season of WandaVision, that's for sure. So, I mean, what could this really tie into? How does it tie into the multiverse? I guess my question is, where do you guys think that Billy and Tommy are? Because apparently they're still alive.
Ethan,
Yeah.
defer to you.
So I have my own theories, right? Some are a bit crazy as to where they are right now. I don't think we're gonna know until I don't trust any of my theories like whatsoever because
And you shouldn't.
exactly at this rate I can never until Doctor Strange 2 we're not going to have an idea of what different universes and realms and like everything in play. I don't think that's going to be, known to us for a while. They could be in a completely different realm, some evil place, whatever. I don't know what's going on. My guess is knowing the origins of certain characters like Mephisto and Nightmare, I think that's all going to kind of wrap together in some way. Now knowing just how powerful Wanda is, they can bring in those like high level villains and her and Doctor Strange can, duke it out. Like I think that's a very fair thing. So I have no clue. I've seen a lot of theories. Some people think it's like some multiverse version of like hell or something like that. I have no clue. I have no clue whatsoever. But yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, because I mean, in Agents of Shield, the Darkhold was from the Hell dimension, which is apparently a different place than the Dark dimension.
Language.
Okay.
Just kidding.
So, but again, what does that have to do with the multiverse? Because that's what Doctor Strange is about. Tommy and Billy are in the dark dimension. It has to do with dimensions and realms. What does that have to do with universes? Those are completely different things. Mm-hmm. So that makes no sense to me. Spider-Man comes out in a few months and we assumed that they would connect. Apparently not. Like we thought, okay, since WandaVision is first, and then Wanda's in Doctor Strange 2, which has to do with multiverse, and then we learned that all these other Spider-Man are coming in from different universes in Spider-Man. They're all connected, right? WandaVision's going to set up the multiverse at the end, and that would lead to Spider-Man and then be fixed in Doctor Strange. How? Like, what is the cause of Spider-Man now? There's nothing else besides what Captain or Falcon, Winter Soldier, and Loki, and then Spider-Man, I believe, is the correct timeline. Which Spider-Man movies are always off on the timeline too, so I guess you can factor that in because Spider-Man 2 actually comes out after this show. But if Doctor Strange fixes the multiverse of madness, you wouldn't think that something that happened before would be in it. It just seems really weird for the whole timeline. It doesn't make any sense to me. This show didn't mention the multiverse once, so I don't know, but it just doesn't make much sense to me what the whole plot is. Like, of creating a different universe is much different from a new dimension, and so I just don't get how it's all going to factor in. I mean, I trust them to make it make sense, but as for now, I don't feel like this show is going to have a huge bearing on the future projects because I feel like they're going to have to rehash everything and then explain all these new things. I thought this show would end on like a cliffhanger where something went wrong. I believe at one point Agatha even said, "You don't even know what you've done," basically. But then like, what did she do? There was no consequences for this entire show. There was zero consequences. The only consequences are to come because of using the Darkhold, which she should have known better. So I don't know. I have a million questions, and this post-credit scene did not help.
Yeah, you brought up a really good point. I have not thought about it yet. We know that the third, unless they do a time jump, we know that the third Spider-Man movie is going to be taking place after he's been, framed by, Mysterio. We have knowing that and knowing that Doctor Strange takes place after the Spider-Man is so confusing because we have nothing set up in the multiverse that's real. Like everything that we've heard is fake so far, as far as we know. So I'm really curious as to where it's gonna go. There's just so many loose ends right now, and I knew there would be some, but not this many. I thought there'd be some mention of like an X gene or like a meta or something or multiverse, but we got none of that. So yeah, I don't even know. I don't know, dude. It's crazy, but I'm excited for Spider-Man,
Yeah.
Let's wrap things up. Do we have any? We already did predictions. Final hopes. Do we still have hope at all? I don't. I mean,
As much as I love Vision, I don't want him to come back. Like, will you
Of
please
course.
stop killing him off and then bringing him back? Like, but they already
That's
left
what
it
I was
up in the
saying.
air by making White Vision leave. So what happened? There was no explanation. Okay, so he hacked into his brain, whatever. We've kind of seen him do that to Ultron previously, so that sort of makes sense, right? So again, he gave him all his memories because the Vision that we know from like Infinity War would have stuck around and helped and not just left. How did he leave in the first place? The hex was up. Are we assuming that he can just get through it? Where is he going? Why? I don't know. So his goal was to kill the Vision, and then he learned he was Vision. Did he just go and off himself? Like, well, I don't know. What better explanation do we have for him just leaving? It was just like, I felt like a lazy way to keep the door open if they ever wanted to bring him back. Which if they're bringing the twins back, might as well bring Vision back too, right? To have your little happy Incredibles family again. So how about
thoughts,
that
Ethan?
Incredibles pose?
It is the Incredibles family.
Oh, they did the same exact pose from the first movie.
The kids are the Incredibles straight up. So
They basically are, yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible how they can smack us over the head so many times. Ethan,
God.
final thoughts.
It was great. It was great.
All right. That was great. Yeah. Are we getting the secret 10th episode, or is it just the behind the scenes and it's really just behind the scenes? Thoughts?
So, okay, I'm gonna watch it just in case there's like secrets in there, because it's behind the scenes of a show that was a show within a show, and so you're like, oh, is this a documentary within a documentary? Like this whole weird thing. Like we've already had the documentary episode where they did their, little comments or whatever, like in Modern Family, but that's what I'm hoping this whole behind the scenes is, where it's the behind the scenes of the show that Wanda created. That would be funny and cool, but I think it's an actual behind the scenes of the show, and it's just it'll be fine, but not anything very interesting.
Yeah. Ethan, any thoughts on this?
I don't know. They need a 10th episode. Are they going to do it? Heck no, I don't think they are. I think they'll do, obviously behind the scenes. I think they do some funny stuff in that. It's always interesting seeing it. But I don't think they're going to do anything else, especially with 2 post-credit scenes after. Like, I don't think they're going to be, doing anything else.
All right.
I did have a question before I wrapped up. Something we skipped over that I was confused about. Okay, so Wanda beats Agatha, right? And then instead of killing her, sending her a different dimension, she transforms her back into Nosy Neighbor, right?
I was confused about this too. Yeah,
okay.
I forgot.
And then it's like, no, you're gonna live in this town and you're gonna be Nosy Neighbor, right? But then she collapses the hex. So
Exactly.
she's no longer stuck, right? Ethan, do you have an explanation for me?
So I'm guessing it kind of works like the Mind Stone. Okay, so hear me out here. We know that the
No.
Mind Stone. Hold up. We know that she brought up at the end when she was flying a vision that she has part of the Mind Stone like in her, like she has that power with her, and obviously she can somewhat have an effect on people's minds. But I'm guessing it's more of a Mind Stone thing. We've seen Hawkeye get, his mind like blasted or whatever, like he was like Loki's puppet. So I'm guessing it's kind of the same without the hex. But yeah, I was thinking that too. I was like, is she gonna collapse the hex down just small enough, like for her? Like, is she just gonna make it super small? But then I'm like, Vision would still be alive there. So I'm like, no. But who knows? Who knows? I guess I was trying to think of it after. I'm like, okay, so if she's just acting like that, that means that there's all these people in the town that saw her being a jerk, and now she's just some creepy neighbor that lives next to them. Like that's that's it. They're like, I saw you
It's pretty
blasting at Wanda, and now you're my neighbor. Yeah. So I can't with it. Who knows? This is one more thing. One more thing to add to the list, dude.
Yeah, that one did make sense.
We've turned Ethan.
I have turned after this.
Okay,
It was great though. It was great.
Ethan, why don't you grab the pup? Let's end things on a high note here, if he's around.
Yeah,
So
1 second.
we can close things out. Jake, are we coming back next week? And if so, why?
Well, we could, if the documentary is actually anything, we could make a show about it. We could do, I guess we could do a Falcon and Winter Soldier preview episode if we have something to say about it, or maybe a combination or something like that. But
They'll probably do a Legends.
Oh, right. I actually never watched the Legends for this show. But yeah, I'm sure we'll do something. If not a show, I'm sure we'll definitely talk about it on our stereo show. But one of the two.
There he is. Little Obi-Wan Kenobi.
You guys want to see a better dog? Even better one?
Sure. Yeah, totally.
There isn't a better dog. Don't worry,
Kenobi.
This is how you end an episode. Give the people what they want, right? Obi is like the Magneto that we never got today. So,
and we're back.
oh,
What kind of dog is that?
This is a burner doodle. Her name is Bailey.
Oh, really?
She's not my dog. We sold her, but
Oh,
hey, Bailey,
cute, right?
that's
Oh, yeah.
Cute dog.
We almost got a burn a doodle.
from the pups, from us here at the Starfighter Podcast, we're signing out. We thank you for listening. It's been fun. It's been a crazy ride. We definitely enjoyed WandaVision as a whole, so that's been awesome, and it's been a blast making these reviews and engaging with the audience, especially on stereo. So check us out on the stereo app. There's a little plug for that. That'll be in the description as well. And of course, we thank Jake as always, and we thank Ethan for coming on again. And I'm sure he'll be on for some episodes of Falcon and Winter Soldier when that comes out. And we thank the pups, and we thank our audience again. So here at the Starfighter Podcast, we will catch you next week.
All right, next time.